Yeah, good to go.
Okay, so now let's begin.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to FutureX, SynFutures live discussion series on blockchain and the futures of finance. I'm your host today, Rachel Lin from SynFutures. DeFi derivative protocol allow you to trade and list anything from crypto majors, NFTs to real world assets. So today we're very excited to have industry leaders here discussing about layer 2 and what's next. Welcome Steven, co-founders of Option Labs building Arbitrum, Mihailo, co-founders of Polygons, and Eli, experts in layer 2 for Polychain Capital. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining. To kick off, perhaps could you just tell us a little bit about what you are doing recently and perhaps share with us a story behind your layer 2 journey? Say any moments of enlightenment or happiness or even the difficulties. Steven, perhaps you could start.
Sure. Good morning or good evening, everyone, or good whatever time of day it is by you. Great to be here. Thanks for having us. And yeah, absolutely happy to answer that. So I guess if there was a moment that I would focus on, at least in recent times, it was about 4.5 weeks ago is when we launched Arbitrum mainnet open to the public. And it was an extremely exciting moment for us in time. And really, it was the first time where users were able to interact with Arbitrum, and something we've been building for literally years and years. And this singular point in time where until then, no one was using it to actually save transaction fees and save gas. And then we turned it on and allowed people to finally use Arbitrum. And it was a very, very exciting time, particularly because we had lots of apps coming with us throughout the door. But it was also, there were some decisions to make at the time, of course. I haven't really talked much about this previously, but we have many upgrades in the pipeline, and a project is never completely finished. So there's always this tendency to have sort of feature creep and say, let's continue on, let's just add 15 more features, let's just get the cost down even lower. And I think if we continue to do that, we would basically we could easily develop for another 6 months, a year, and then decide it's not ready. So the decision we made was, well, Arbitrum is feature complete. Everything works, and the full protocol is operational. The full proving system is there, so it's time to launch Arbitrum and let people use it. And we built a roadmap in which we can, push, further gas cost reductions, further increases in capacity over time, but do that in a way that's seamless to user and gives them uninterrupted access. But definitely the most exciting moment, at least in the company for me, was the actual launch. And thankfully it's been, really thanks to the community and all the people who have participated, have been, a successful event from my view.
Yeah, just in time to launch in August, later to summer, right? Yeah.
Yes. We got in by the summer. Actually, the summer technically goes till September 21st or so. So we had a few weeks of L2 summer, but by the typical school definition of July and August, we got in there by a day.
Congratulations again. Mihailo, and perhaps you could share with us your story.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks, Rachel, for the invite, and hello, everyone. I'm Mihailo, I'm co-founder at Polygon, and Polygon is a Ethereum-focused scaling and infrastructure platform, basically. What I guess differentiates Polygon is that we are, to the best of my knowledge, the only scaling project or only scaling platform that is not focusing on any single scaling implementation or solution. So at Polygon, we believe that we are still very early, actually, when it comes to scaling blockchains, when it comes to building this infrastructure. So we as a community, we have this big and amazing dream, I would say, to onboard, 1 billion people to this Web3 and this global permissionless economy that will create democratic opportunities for everyone to participate. And it's like a very big and amazing vision. And to we're nowhere near to have robust and scalable enough infrastructure to actually provide that, to actually achieve that. So as I said, we believe we are still in a very early stages when it comes to building this infrastructure, and hence why we believe it's still not the time to focus on any single implementation. That's why Polygon supports all major scaling solutions, or all major scaling approaches. We are committing huge amounts of resources, both in financial resources, human resources, etc., to facilitate and help all these meaningful scaling approaches develop further. So that's one thing that kind of differentiates Polygon. And even in the long term, I think it's pretty unlikely that there will be one scaling solution to rule them all, because different use cases, different applications have different requirements, and we will probably, even in the long term, we will see multiple scaling solutions coexist in a harmonious manner, I would say. And that's how we see the future of Ethereum and scaling Ethereum, and that's why we have this approach of supporting multiple scaling solutions. Currently, we have a Polygon POS chain that is some sort of hybrid of sidechain layer 2. It has components of both. Basically, we can go into technical details if it's required. And it's seeing a very huge level of adoption. It is currently the most adopted scaling solution in the Ethereum ecosystem. And we're in parallel working on different scaling solutions. We have Polygon SDK, which is framework to build several types of scaling solutions, implementations. We have Polygon Hermes, its recent acquisition that we have announced. It's a zero-knowledge based rollup. We are currently on our roadmap for Hermes. We have full EVM compatibility, and that we hope will be one of the first EVM compatible ZK rollups. And we have some other plans that we can go, I guess, go through throughout this webinar if required. I just don't want to take too much of the time, I guess, but I can talk. There's a lot of things happening on Polygon basically on a daily manner, so I just don't know where to stop basically. But I guess that should be enough for an intro.
Sure, excited to, and also looking forward to learn more from you later on. Perhaps Eli, could you also, give us some color?
Sure thing. So my name is Eli Krenzke. I'm a partner at Polychain. More recently, we've been, focused heavily on layer 2 on the investing side. Everything from scaling to interoperability. We're obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but we're also investors in Arbitrum. So we're really excited about that. My layer 2 journey. I guess a few years ago, I was really into Bitcoin as people were at that time, and so my first introduction to layer 2 was via the Lightning Network and hash time lock contracts and things of that nature. Over that period, I was freelancing in the space as a software engineer, and worked as like a mediocre engineer at best probably. But worked with people like Evan Schwartz from Interledger briefly, as well as like a few other side projects. Mostly interested in at the time I was mostly interested in building out a prediction market of sorts for hash rate on Lightning. Eventually, I guess I took the red pill or whatever you want to call it. And just became super into ETH and other layer 1s, and further developed an interest in scaling and interoperability. So yeah, that was my first introduction into layer 2 and where I am now.
Sure, great to have you all the experts of layer 2 here. Yeah, just know Mihailo also talk about this. There's lots of stuff going on out there, and then you have exciting plans on the way. Perhaps could we learn more about what could we expect from like Arbitrum to Polygon in the next few months? And also for Eli, also love to learn from you what's Polychain been looking at. We'll start with perhaps Mihailo. Could you talk more about your short-term plan right now?
Yeah, sure. So Polygon is growing rapidly on all fronts, I would say. So we have, I guess I can briefly cover first our plans on the adoption side. I guess we have achieved, I would say, huge level of adoption several months ago. I think it was March. We made a strategic decision on the adoption front to focus on DeFi, and we commit significant, I guess, resources and financial and human resources and others into bootstrapping this DeFi ecosystem. And I think we have done a great job there. We onboarded, I guess, pretty much all, with some recent announcements that are in the pipeline. I would say almost all major DeFi blue chip apps will be on Polygon POS chain. And we have, in addition to that, bootstrapped vibrant, I would say, native DeFi ecosystem on the POS chain, and we're very happy with that. Now we're witnessing a huge level of interest into NFTs, and maybe, I guess, 1 month ago or so, we have officially committed to try to do the same, basically, with the NFTs, because that's where the attention is, that's where the users are at the moment, and we are now heavily focusing on that. And we're already seeing some great results with some major brands like Dolce & Gabbana, some others from the fashion industry, some big names from the movie industry, and many other brand names that I cannot mention now. But we will have several major announcements in the following 2 weeks, I think. And also alongside with that, we are working with this native NFT ecosystem, artist ecosystem. We want to bring them on board. We have full integration with OpenSea, and it's now basically seamless for anyone to mint tokens, to transfer them from Ethereum to Polygon and back, and vice versa. Our technology is 100% green. It doesn't rely on proof of work in any way, basically. So there are some major advantages when it comes to NFTs on Polygon. We're now trying to communicate those advantages very well and bootstrap this NFT ecosystem. What we have achieved basically with DeFi, we have built, I would say, after Ethereum, the most vibrant DeFi ecosystem in the world. We want to do the same now with NFTs. So on the business, if you want, or the adoption side, that's what we're focusing on in the following months. On the maintaining the current architecture side, so we have this current architecture that is running, and you have to maintain it. It has to remain reliable, efficient, and secure. We are now working on the next major version. We call it V3 of our POS chain that has the highest adoption at the moment. It will bring several fundamental, I would say, improvements, and we're also heavily focusing on that now. And when it comes to innovation and future solutions that we are working on, that we want to introduce, we have, as I mentioned, with Polygon Hermes, we are actively working on this CVM compatible ZK rollup. That is something that the whole team is fully focused on. And we have 2 more ZK-based solutions that we will be announcing soon. I cannot share more details at the moment, but very soon we will share them. Basically, we, as I said, we support all solutions to scale Ethereum, and but we might be a little bit biased, at least at the moment, and in favor of ZK-based solutions, and that is kind of manifested or formalized through our recently announced ZK thesis and the $1 billion fund or allocation from our treasury that we want to commit to building and promoting ZK-based solutions. So that being said, as a continuation of that thesis and that strategic focus that we recently announced, we will soon be announcing 2 more ZK-based efforts, and that is, I guess, in short. Again, I could talk for like 15 more minutes, I guess, or something. But I guess in short, that would be 3 major things that we will be focusing. There are also these existing efforts. We're working with DeFi. We recently announced Nightfall, which is the first privacy-focused rollup, and we're also building and looking forward to have it on mainnet in the next 3 months, I think. On the Polygon SDK front, we have several big projects that we are discussing currently that might launch their own, basically Ethereum-based chains using Polygon SDK. We also have Polygon Avail, which is a permissionless data availability solution. We also expect it to hit mainnet probably in this following several months. It's still, for Avail, it's still hard for me to say. All these other things that I mentioned I'm very confident about. Avail, I cannot guarantee yet, but anyways, all these things are kind of making some progress. So yeah, a lot of things, I guess, on multiple fronts.
Yeah, great to know that, and looking forward to the launch as well. How about Stevens from Arbitrum side? What's been under your radar?
Yeah, great question. So similar to some of the things Mihailo mentioned, certainly the adoption front, we also went very DeFi heavy in our launch a couple of weeks ago, and at the point now, we either have support or have support coming from most of the large Ethereum DeFi projects. And actually, something that's super exciting is there's a really thriving community of Arbitrum native projects that's popped up, and we're excited to continue to support. So it's really the old and the new mixing, and a lot of the traditional assumptions are off there, right? So a project that's top one on Ethereum, maybe the top one on Arbitrum in their category, or maybe there's also opportunities for new projects to make their mark. And we're happy to support everyone, of course, and aren't taking any sides in that. But it's just really exciting to play out, watching all these familiar names and all these new projects and all the innovation that lower cost transactions on Ethereum are allowing people to bring. Also, we've seen a bunch of NFT projects spring up, and we intend to really try to foster that ecosystem. We have an exciting hire joining us in the next few weeks that's going to be leading that effort. And we'll talk more about that soon. And another vertical that we're really seeing lots and lots of interest in Arbitrum, having a lot of conversations on with various teams, is on the gaming front. I think this is probably, if I would have to guess, this is probably going to be one of the next big frontiers in the blockchain space. And this is something that, again, it's really enabled by lower fee transactions. You can't have a game that's backed by Ethereum fees, because for gaming, at least for a lot of the developers that I speak with, it's very much about hiding, being there if you want to know, but also invisible to users, right? The idea is that users will play their game as they always did. Their assets will be on the blockchain, and that's almost an implementation detail, right? So they don't want to feel that while they're playing the game. Now, if you have a transaction fee in the tens of dollars, or even in the dollars, to be honest, while you're playing a game and you rack up, your hour of gameplay racks up quite a bill for you, you're kind of going to notice. And also, if every time you do a move or something that interacts with the resources that are on chain, you have a 15-second or so spinner go up, you're going to notice. So really, the fast confirmations of Arbitrum, the instant confirmations that we provide, together with the low cost that will get lower over time, really are creating what we see an opportunity for a new industry to develop. And I'm sure that Polygon is seeing that as well, because this is something that there's just a lot of interest, and lower cost solutions are really important for this. And in terms of what we're building, and connecting to my point before about when do we launch? There's so much more to do. Well, there's so much more to do, right? So since we launched, we didn't lay down and say, all right, we're done here. Let's go home. We've increased our hiring and increased our ambitions, and continue to really build on our engineering roadmap. And so what's coming? I'll give some hints here. I think the next large upgrade to come will actually introduce WASM, WebAssembly support in Arbitrum, and that will actually help our EVM support. So we'll get better EVM support by also adding support for WASM architecture. I expect the cost to go significantly down, continue to go down over time, and also our capacity to go up by, I would have to say, probably 20 to 50x. So really exciting updates coming there as we add WASM support. We'll talk a lot more about that over the coming days and weeks. That's very much under development, and also we've been talking about for a while Arbitrum channels and side chains, which is like alternative data availability solutions that we'll be introducing alongside Arbitrum 1, alongside the rollup. And again, it's the idea of gaming and the like. This will give different price points for different users. So there are certain users, for DeFi users, they generally are fine with fees in the high cents to low dollars. For gaming users, you need an order of magnitude lower than that. So our goal is to really build an inclusive ecosystem. And also this really, differs based on where you are in the world as well, right? So for a user in the US, a fee might be acceptable. For a user in a developing country, that fee might be unacceptable. And the goal of this entire ecosystem is really about financial inclusion. And so we want to support inside Arbitrum, many different paths where users can interact via our rollup mode and via some other modes if that's better for them. And frankly, we view the value here in the entire Ethereum ecosystem, and we're excited to be building alongside Mihailo at Polygon, and we think there's really space for lots of there's a wide space here, lots of different trade-off space for different types of users, and we think there's no single solution, and we're internally building a few, and we're happy to see others building alongside us.
Great. Yeah, the cost reduction part is also something that the whole community has been looking for. So we'll be excited to learn about it and try it on when it's live.
Absolutely, yes. We will continue to reduce costs over time. That's one of our security, performance, and costs are some of our top priorities.
Impossible triangle. Yeah. So and great to know that. Eli, how about from the investor side? Are you still looking at different solutions, or what's your plan?
Yeah. So at Polychain, I think that we're constantly recalibrating our thesis, just across crypto in general, because our industry just moves so fast. There are a few things that are kind of top of mind for me. So I think there are a few interesting directions that layer 2s can go in. I think one of them that is kind of close to my heart is just arbitrary execution environments within rollups. So as Stephen kind of alluded to with WASM, a WASM execution environment, I'm particularly excited about that. But I think that, in terms of thesis for us, what we're really looking for at the end of the day is something that enables new kinds of, human behavior. It's, with something like Arbitrum or Polygon, or like a lot of these layer 2s, I think it's the first time that we're seeing smart contracts that can achieve, web scale or web speed, right? And what I mean by that is not just the transaction costs, but also how fast you can actually get the transaction in, right? So you've seen this with kind of like the success of something like DYDX on Starkware, or some of the farms on Arbitrum, or Polymarket on Polygon. I think that a lot of these apps enable some kind of new behavior, or one that's like unencumbered by user experience kind of woes that we've had in the past. Something that I've been working on closely with our portfolio happens to be more in the interoperability space, but I still very much consider that to be a part of layer 2. So I'm really excited about what Connext is doing, where essentially you have reserves on both sides of or rather two rollups, right? You have $100 on each side, and you can essentially sell $50 on one chain for $50 on the other chain, right? If there's no fees. But in reality, if you want to bridge really fast across these rollups, I'm actually paying $50 for $49. And so right now, what we've been seeing with the routers on Connext are something like a APY of like 30 to 50% with like stable coins. And so this is like really, really exciting on like the economic side of things as well. But obviously it's still developing. Outside of Ethereum, I'm also really excited about some of the the scaling initiatives in the Cosmos and interoperability stuff in Cosmos as well. Something that's kind of interesting to me is this idea of, a very minimal data availability layer where, Cosmos SDK apps can essentially containerize and run in a rollup on Celestia or something like that, right? So there's a lot of really exciting things in this space. There's also, well, I don't want to like get too deep into it, but there's a lot of really cool stuff that we're getting really excited about. Including privacy or arbitrary execution environments, interoperability, things like that, have been really top of mind for us, though.
Rachel may be frozen.
Maybe I was waiting for Rachel. To Eli's point, I think it's really nice. Also, I'm sure Arbitrum is seeing the same patterns basically. And as Eli mentioned, these new types of behavior is something that me personally, as one of the co-founders of Polygon, I'm very excited about and very happy and kind of humbled to see. So, for example, with some blue chip DeFi applications like Aave that exist on the Ethereum mainnet for years already. After only 2 months after deployment on Polygon POS, they have twice as many unique users as on layer 1. So we're actually seeing and validating that hypothesis that what we're seeing now on Ethereum layer 1 is basically, some people would call it a whale game. Like so basically these transactions, we have very limited throughput on layer 1, and transactions are very expensive, and only users that by default, I guess, have a lot of capital and can afford these high transactions are actually the ones transacting on layer 1. And there is this long tail of users that is currently completely, I would say, priced out from using Ethereum. And that kind of invalidates the initial idea of Ethereum as an open, permissionless financial system for everyone. And with these scaling solutions like Arbitrum, like Polygon and others, we are finally now enabling this long tail of users to use these great applications and benefit from that, maybe even make profit, etc. And we're kind of coming back to the original promise of Ethereum and this permissionless inclusive financial system.
Yeah, great. Sorry guys, just a network problem, but great to have you coming back. So thanks for the intro just now. And yeah, we're being touched a little bit on like different scaling solutions, and just also love to learn from you. How's your view? We're seeing different solutions coming up like ZK, Meta Labs, ZK Porters, and what different solutions coming up, and it seems like ZK roll up, it's sort of a bit consensus that ZK could stand up a bit in the longer term. But what's your view? Eli, perhaps start with you.
So the question is essentially like the
view on different scaling solutions, yeah, and which one do you think that have the longer term potential? Right.
So yeah, this is a tough one for me to address, I guess, but I'll take my best shot at it. So I think I'm really excited about, you know, kind of like these like diverging paths that we've been seeing, right? I do think that let's say I'm really excited about like the finale, or rather like the bridge time of like some of these like ZK rollups. But I do think it's like incredibly like pragmatic for optimistic rollups to really focus on like just getting it out the door and having people play with it, and some of the safety associated with it. Obviously, I'm not like the best person to talk on this point, but I think that like longer term, we will kind of converge again, though, and see some kind of hybrid solution where you kind of have the best of both worlds. From what we've seen, though, I think that you can solve a lot of the problems with with withdrawal windows or something like that with kind of like clearinghouse mechanisms, where there's a lot of people who are willing to provide liquidity on one side, and for people who want to exit a bridge, and similarly this works across different chains, right? So I think that EVM compatibility right now is really important, and so it makes sense to focus on that first, but ultimately I think that we will explore other execution environments, or possibly achieve EVM, like full EVM compatibility within a zero knowledge circuit. I think it's unclear to me right now of like which one we're going to reach first, but that's kind of why I use the wish-washy answer of I think we'll ultimately converge to some sort of hybrid solution.
Sure. And yeah, I do have a question also for Mihailo on this front, right? We know that Polygon is has a families of different solutions, and is a framework, and including a recent joint of Hermes. But how could you tell us about, within your minds, what's the plan, and how do you envision the shift of users, developers between different solutions, and among your family, which one could be a longer term winner? I mean, the potential one, yeah, right?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And to Eli's point, we see, first of all, where can I start from? First of all, we're still definitely not picking any favorites. We're trying not to pick favorites. Maybe we're slightly now, as I said, biased towards ZK-based solutions, but we see, of course, a lot of pragmatism, as Eli said, in optimistic rollups, and what Arbitrum is doing is fantastic, and we are also looking forward. We have some discussions already. We would really like to work together with them on we have some ideas already. But again, I can just reiterate on what I said in the beginning. We think this is a very early stage of development for Web3 and Ethereum scaling infrastructure in general. So we just want to, at this point, facilitate innovation. There is this famous misquote, let 1,000 flowers bloom, something like that. So we want to do exactly that at this point. We just want to facilitate innovation and see how these solutions will play out in the market. So the users should be the one to decide what are the optimal solutions, what is the best solution for each one of them, or projects at least that are deploying to each one of these. From our side, we just want to offer as much support and as many resources as we can possibly commit to each of these solutions and see how they will play out in the market. So we expect, back in the days when Plasma was the first, I guess, major Ethereum scaling solutions, and I was personally very much involved with Plasma research from the beginning, from their paper release, basically. And I kind of realized and went through this whole, I would say, hype cycle. When you have one solution that is extremely popular within the industry, everyone's talking about it, often even forgetting the downsides or some trade-offs that this solution introduces. And then there is eventually you reach this state of disillusionment where you say, Plasma is dead. But I would like to encourage everyone from the community to just be open-minded. Now we see maybe some levels of kind of purism in some small parts of the community where people are kind of insisting on their vision of perfect solutions. So this solution has to derive fully security from Ethereum, be decentralized in this way. So there are some specific set of features that some people would ideally want. And these features are meaningful. There is no problem with that. But to actually reach there, we might still need years. So some level of pragmatism, I guess, would be very beneficial for the community in general. And that's why we, for example, with Polygon, we introduced this POS chain as an EVM compatible solution that is available today. we understood that there is a pressing need to scale Ethereum. A lot of users were already priced out. Users were starting to migrate to other, if you want, competing layer ones, etc. Maybe even with some very concerning trade-offs. Some of these alternative layer ones have, I would say, concerning trade-offs, and we wanted to offer something today. And we are aware that, for example, this Polygon POS chain that we offer today has certain trade-offs. It doesn't derive security fully from Ethereum. It has its own validator set, but we are aware that it has proven itself to be secure enough for now. And it has some very interesting features. How we communicate with Ethereum, we keep the whole validator set on Ethereum, so we are able to validate these checkpoints. We're able to secure the bridge with the whole amount of stake, etc., etc. So I don't want to go into too many details, I guess. But if I can say something, is that just to conclude or wrap it up, we still just don't want to pick favorites. We want to encourage innovation and see how it will play out in years to come, not in months. This is basically a marathon, and we still have, I strongly believe, years ahead of us until we have mature infrastructure, and we're confident enough to say, okay, the Ethereum ecosystem can onboard 1 billion people. We're not there yet.
Yeah, I see. And also unique and insightful strategy as well. Stephen, how about yours? I think users like Arbitrum with Optimism Rob right now. Although I also understand that you are also have more solutions coming out. And could you share more about your view and your plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So, echoing some of the things Mihailo and Eli said, I do think that we're very early days, and there's a lot more to come. Arbitrum today is unique in that it's the only general purpose optimistic rollup, really actually only general purpose rollup that's live on the market today. And there are a lot of really excellent teams that are working on building. Some of them are building optimistic rollups, some of them are building ZK rollups. But Arbitrum, and to Mihailo's point, we're serving users today. We're scaling today, right? We're not waiting. And I was an academic for many years, and let me tell you about here's how technology and research develops over time, which is you write something today, like an academic paper, and you look back in a year and you rewrite the same paper. And I did this, multiple times with my work on, say, threshold ECDSA. And the idea is you look back and say, wow, I can't believe 2 years ago I thought this was good. This is awful. And then you rewrite it. And then a year later you do the same thing and you revisit. And what the point that I'm trying to make is that I think if we fast forward 5 years from now and we look back, every single solution today, Polygon, Arbitrum, ZK rollups, anything that exists today is going to look early and primitive because, as to Mihailo's point, we are early and primitive, and we're continuing to develop that, and no one really knows what the roadmap will look like. But what we know at Arbitrum is, we believe we have the most advanced rollup technology today, and we're going to continue innovating. I mentioned today, I actually dropped for the first time today some of the new things on our roadmap, which we'll be talking a lot more soon. And it's not that we're just sitting target. Arbitrum launched. And now, the ZK rollups will be live in a year or 6 months or a year, whenever they are, and they're going to then be better. You can't compare Arbitrum today to something that launched in a year. What we can compare is the thing that exists today. And like I said, Arbitrum is the only general rollup solution live today. And we're very excited to be that. And we have a world-class team innovating and saying, how do we continue to build out great experiences for users? And I can guarantee you that the Arbitrum today will not look like the Arbitrum when a ZK solution launches. You mentioned something about the ZK being like the sort of the end game. That's a narrative that the ZK teams like to push, and it's actually when you don't have live technology, it's very easy to focus on the good things and everything's going to be great. But when you actually commit to your technology and then you look at things that there's trade-offs in every technology, right? So something that I don't see talked about much is the off-chain proving costs in ZK, right? So yeah, the on-chain costs are very cheap, but proving via ZK, building efficient compilers, that's very, very hard. And to do it efficiently is also very, very hard. So, that's not to say they won't do an excellent job, but we have to really consider a full system. And I haven't seen a full ZK system that's live and solves these issues. And I know there are some really, really excellent teams working on it and teams that I have a lot of respect for, but it's it's very hard to compare a dream to something that's actually live and running. Arbitrum today is live and running. It's live and running with certain trade-offs. It's an optimistic roll-up, so it has this bridge delay period. But the bridge, I view the core benefit of ZK in theory as a faster bridging to Ethereum. I actually think that becomes less important over time. Number one, as projects like Eli mentioned, these bridging projects, they really, excuse the pun, to bridge that gap. And number two is we're seeing, and Polygon seeing the same thing. TVL that's not going back and forth that often. TVL that's joining our platform and staying on our platform. A year ago I would have told you that having an optimistic roll-up solution like Arbitrum live on day one with like top DeFi apps would be impossible. So bridging was really a big focus, because you would imagine this universe in which you have one or two apps. And so your thought was, well, we're in a constant bridging world. I go into Arbitrum to use maybe an exchange. I go back to Ethereum to use a lending platform. I go back to Arbitrum to use an option. That's not the world that we're seeing today. We're seeing mature platforms on Arbitrum. We're seeing mature platforms on Polygon, and bridging. I'm not saying that bridging is not important, but it's not the killer feature that I think we thought it was a year ago. I think we're focusing on building long-term, live and vibrant ecosystems that say, that focus less on the bridging, but focus on how do we keep users here and how do we keep users happy here. And that means low fees and high optionality for things that they can do. And the last thing I'll say is, and maybe this is, it may seem against my interest, but I don't necessarily think the world will be so rosy that we ever converge onto one solution. Back to what I mentioned before, financial inclusion, it's really low fees. It's a subjective concept, right? There are what might be a low fee to me might not be a low fee to someone else. What might be, and that might depend on where I live. That might depend on what I'm using the chain for, right? I might be a DeFi user, and someone else might be a gamer. So low fees means something completely different. Security is also, the security needs is also subjective to projects, right? We focus very much on Arbitrum 1 right now, and building a rollup and building a product that's secured by Ethereum, derives its security from Ethereum. For certain low-level applications, that actually may be less useful, and there may be. I'm not going to say there aren't use cases that need lower cost, significantly lower transaction costs, that are willing to make other trade-offs. We'll introduce products that make some of these trade-offs around data availability, but there are also fantastic other players like the Matic chain that makes a different set of trade-offs, and that might just be the right set of trade-offs for a group of users. So I think it's really a subjective concept. So I think we'll learn more over time. I think every solution will get better over time. But I think the whole point here is financial inclusion, and that's going to require different trade-off points, different price points for different users, and different security trade-offs included in that. And I think we'll have a vibrant world where basically we can service all these requests. But and the one thing that I'll say is I think we can really be inclusive to all these people and use cases within the Ethereum ecosystem. And we're seeing really great solutions within the Ethereum ecosystem, like Arbitrum. We're seeing Polygon, and I think that there will be users won't have to leave. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what your use case is, I think there will be a place for you, a comfortable place for you inside the Ethereum ecosystem, where you can transact in a vibrant community and network at the price point and security level that makes sense for you.
Yeah, great. I like when you say this. I mean, everything, yes, is pretty very preliminary when you look back, right, in a couple of years. And and every day is technology in being evolving and changing. Yeah, there's something excited about the blockchain industry as well. Speaking of the scaling solution, I think that one common question lots of people been asking is that, I mean, since Ethereum has this roadmap of going into Ethereum 2.0, shifting to POS, although we're not sure when it will come true, right? But how do you see the impact on the broader layer 2 solution ecosystems, and what kind of role will the layer 2 solution play in these systems? Stephen, perhaps we could continue to learn from you.
Sure, happy to take that one. I think the ETH2, I think my view is less important. I'll defer to the writing that Vitalik has put out here, where maybe a year ago now, I think last October, so just about a year ago, Vitalik put out a blog post about ETH2's roadmap, and it was he used the term a roll-up centric roadmap, and the idea was that ETH2 has always been discussed in phases, but I think at least my understanding of the current plans and how I think we fit into it is ETH2 will really provide the data sharding layer, and then the execution scaling will happen via rollups, and of course Arbitrum will be a key part of that. And I think that's very important. So in terms of what apps will still be, say, on Arbitrum or on other scaling solutions after ETH2, I think the answer is all of them. I view ETH2 as a data layer to support scaling solutions. And sure, ETH2 is going to bring down costs a lot, and it will bring down costs for our users. And in a world where the adoption stopped where it was today, we could say, hey, do we need, if ETH2 was launched today and users stopped coming, maybe we'd say, all right, let's just put everything back on native Ethereum, and we don't need these scaling solutions anymore. But I think, Mihailo mentioned a billion users coming. I think that's a very real vision. I think that's actually going to happen. And we're going to need all the help we can get. We're going to need both the data availability, increased data from ETH2, and we're going to need both the execution from rollups like Arbitrum to really build a full scaling picture. And the way to think about ETH2, at least in my view, or the way to think about rollups is they provide a multiplicative, a reduction in cost. So maybe it's 10x or 100x or 200x, depending on the rollup and the project and the exact use case. And the idea is, if you make, and the majority of the cost in rollups, at least in Arbitrum, is still putting the data on chain. So if you increase the capacity in Ethereum and you make the cost of putting data on chain cheaper, that just means that your end product and the whole rollup gets cheaper. And our capacity now multiplies over the availability of Ethereum. So Ethereum multiplies by 64x, and rollups can do 300x on top of that. We've just expanded the market greatly. So I think ETH2 and rollups, we're not a band-aid, right? This is not like, oh, let's launch something until ETH2 comes live. We're launching fundamental scaling solutions that will work together in tandem for ETH2 for the storm of users that began to come and will only increasingly come over time. And I think we welcome very much all the help we can get that in ETH2. And Arbitrum and other scaling solutions like Polygon, I think, are very important parts of that story.
Great. How about Mihailo, your view?
Yeah, thanks. I can pretty much just echo what Steven said. And I think it's really important to understand is, again, we're in still this intense phase of innovation, both on the layer one side, as we see, as well as on the layer two or scaling side of things. So the major innovation that is in the works currently on the layer one side is Ethereum 2.0. And there are some concerns or slight maybe confusion that Ethereum 2.0 might render the layer two solutions obsolete, which is it's actually the opposite, as Steven said. Like Ethereum 2.0 is perfectly compatible and should work in synergy with layer two solutions. It actually should make them more scalable and cheaper, as Steven said, because in essence, 2.0 brings two major improvements. One is proof of stake that should replace this proof of work based consensus algorithm that we have currently on Ethereum, and that, in a nutshell, doesn't fundamentally affect scaling solutions. I would say, like, we will have to do some modifications on our solutions to sync with this new consensus algorithm and whatnot. But essentially, it doesn't change anything. It's just a very positive, I would say, change in Ethereum world. We're shifting to POS, which is a fully 100% green technology, etc., more efficient. And I think it's like a very positive change for the ecosystem overall, but it doesn't fundamentally affect scaling solutions. What will affect scaling solutions, and in a positive way, is this sharding. This is the second component of Ethereum 2.0. With sharding, the idea is to introduce 64 independent data availability chains, basically, that will run in parallel, and they will significantly multiply this data availability capacity of layer one, which will subsequently make layer two solutions like Arbitrum and any other solution that uses basically layer one for any purpose, be it data availability, be it checkpointing, be it validator and staking transactions, will make them much more powerful and scalable. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's it, I guess.
Sure, of course, the demand's been increasing, right? So combining with the ETH 2.0 and roll-ups, we could support large varieties of products and users as well. Eli, how about your view?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have much else to add, you know, to the points that were brought up. But you know, I think I'm, you know, really excited for like to see how we actually address you know, these layers of indirection that we'll experience going forward, right? So you have this idea that, you know, a rollup lives on a shard somewhere, and then how does a shard communicate to another shard? And ultimately, I think that, you know, it might feel a little bit weird going forward, but you know, we will basically, I think we'll figure it out, right? There will be like lots of layers of indirection. You know, what application lives where and how do I talk to it? But ultimately, you know, we'll get to a point where we can kind of alleviate some of those concerns. So I know that there are plenty of people, you know, working on solutions to this, where you know, both on the ETH research side, and then of course on the layer 2 side. I think that a lot of people are pretty conscious of this kind of problem that we'll run into. That being said, you know, it's kind of a non-issue, but something that's kind of interesting to think about, especially as, you know, new chains come out, whether they're side chains or new layer ones, and where they live in the ecosystem as well. So just looking forward to all of these systems, you know, communicating with one another, whether that's you know, something like IBC from the Cosmos or Tendermint community, whether it's XEMP from, you know, Polkadot, or something like Optics. It doesn't really matter how it happens, but I do think it will be increasingly important to figure out how to you know, adequately communicate across these different chains, roll-ups, you know, ecosystems, whatever you want to call it. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to.
Sure, great.
Yeah, if I can just add to Eli's point, basically, sorry, Rachel, I think it's one thing that I really like about the Ethereum community is that, and this philosophy and how development is happening in Ethereum, it's completely organic, and there is no, how can I say, there is no official, for example, in Bitcoin, you have Lightning Network, which is kind of an official scaling solution, and everyone's expecting results from that specific solution, and that is kind of, I would say, dramatically increases risk of failure, if you will. So in Ethereum, it's completely opposite. It's fully permissionless system, and we have super smart people from different projects, like people from Arbitrum have one vision how to scale it. People from, I don't know, some ZK teams have another vision. We at Polygon, we also have ours, and everyone's working independently and doing their best to realize their visions. And that kind of hedges risk, and I would say increases the likelihood for Ethereum to become this go-to platform for Web3. But why am I saying that? It's again somewhat similar with Ethereum 2.0. So we have this, now we have proof of stake that is kind of independent from sharding. So proof of stake will go into production now soon. And it is something that we have seen multiple times. There are multiple POS systems that are running in production now, and that is not now, I don't know, rocket science anymore. So that is something that can be built, highly likely. Sharding, this concept of 64 shards, as Eli said, has certain challenges. And it is a separate, I would say, effort within E2.0 that might not even materialize, that might not even happen. But even if it doesn't happen one day, because we come across some fundamental challenges, the Ethereum ecosystem will continue to evolve and grow and scale even without it. So that's something that I really like about Ethereum, that that innovation is encouraged. And along the way, things will crystallize and things will converge along the way. But for now, let's just innovate and do our best to figure out how to build this infrastructure. And that's something that we tried to adopt also at Polygon.
Yeah, that is something that our team is really excited about, right? It's a permission-based natures and encourage lots of different innovation across different teams. Yeah, I didn't realize this. We're running out of time, but I would love to, this chance for everyone, perhaps you could ask the questions to your peers and learn about each other's. Perhaps Mihailo, would you love to raise any questions to Polychain or Arbitrum team?
Oh, I haven't thought about it. For Steven, I don't know. Of course, congrats on all the success, and we're huge fans of it, Arbitrum, and that is known, I guess. But yeah, this WASM is new information for me, and sounds really exciting. Can you just maybe share one or two more sentences about it? What exactly do you expect when it comes to I don't know, improving developer experience maybe and end user experience? If you can maybe expand on that, because that sounds very interesting. And to Eli, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe let me think about it. I'm not sure I have
yeah, we can raise
question.
just one question since we are running out of time as well. Yeah.
Yeah, or how can you compare? Maybe I might be biased a little bit because I'm Ethereum community member, I guess, for years already, and I'm likely biased when it comes to Ethereum versus other layer ones. So maybe if you can compare realistically the activity, maybe an alternative or competing layer ones with Ethereum, I guess. And what is your view on confidence level maybe on these other chains succeeded? I guess maybe.
Steven, you want to go first?
Sure, happily. Yeah, it's a great question. I just dropped like kind of a big nugget without much context. And so the one thing I'll say is we'll talk about this very much soon. Probably this week we'll start talking about it. It's been in development for well over a year now. So it's a pretty mature project, which we're only starting to talk about now. I think the first thing we'll see for it, you asked about developer experience, is actually a further increased developer experience from Ethereum for EVM, right? So putting off anything about WASM native for right now, I think this will mean an even better path for EVM transactions where they can utilize, compile some of the traditional tools down to WASM and use them alongside the solution we have today. And the thing that we can say with a high degree of confidence is that no user experience will be interrupted when we do this. We're not going to restart the state of the chain or anything like that. This was what we've done is when we launched, I mentioned in the beginning, we had this question of when do you launch? Do you continue to push upgrades? So the thing that was important to us that there was a very clear roadmap over time, and we knew how to support all of our upgrades without interrupting users. So users can know that they can interact with Arbitrum today, and over time, great upgrades will come. But all their data, all their events, and all their app state will continue to be there, continue to remain accessible throughout. And that's basically how we built our pipeline. So lots more details to come on that. But for users, it's sort of, we're just going to silently push some really cool upgrades. And you'll notice not because things stop working, but because things get cheaper and things get more performant.
Great, thanks. Have you considered the eWASM work and maybe talking to their team? Is there some overlap there between this eWASM initiative, and Alex and the team have been working on it for a while?
There's, it's obviously, we're doing it. I have to use a deterministic version of WASM, so I think that there's definitely some shared goals, but I'll save sort of the technical details for we'll be putting out some more technical information over the coming days and weeks.
Okay. Awesome. Super exciting. Thanks.
Yeah.
Eli, would you like to take that question?
Oh, yeah, sure. So regarding layer ones and competition, things of that nature, I want to make it clear that Polychain probably would not be as big as it is if it were not for Ethereum. And so I think that a lot of we have a lot of respect for ETH, and we're still heavily involved in that ecosystem. When we invest in other layer ones, we really do think that, you know, it kind of has some kind of, you know, new pillar that does not exist on ETH. And maybe it can be recreated on ETH, but it's either easier or more performant, more efficient to do as kind of like an alternative, right? That being said, I think that a lot of these, you know, what could be perceived as challengers or what have you, really will like connect to Ethereum in some kind of way. So what I mean by, you know, we believe that there's like, or I believe that, you know, a lot of these new layer ones represent, you know, some kind of new pillar. What I mean by that is like, you know, you had like the first generation with like, you know, Bitcoin being digital money or digital gold, and then you have Ethereum, which is this kind of like world computer, right? I think that there are alternatives where, you know, whether they focus on interoperability or some kind of arbitrary, you know, zero knowledge circuit execution or what have you, such as like Alio or Noma. It's really exciting for us, right? With Tezos, it was like on-chain governance, right? And this idea that, you know, there's like almost like this philosophy of like constitutionalism or something, right? So there's like various, you know, other kind of social experiments that we can run in a layer one environment that are really exciting to me. But ultimately, I think that a lot of these things will converge or kind of connect in some kind of way. So you know, I view it as like you know, more of I have like more of a neutral bias, I guess, right? Than a lot of other people, but you know, ultimately, I'm still really excited for the future of Ethereum, where it's headed.
Okay. Great answer. Thanks.
Yeah. Yes. Would you like to also raise a question to, I think just one question to either Stephen or Mihailo?
I think we covered a lot of them, but I guess just for a light one, what are you guys's what are your guys's you know, favorite projects on each respective project? Like, what have you guys been playing around with you know, Arbitrum or Polygon? Maybe it's, you know, something that's been, you know, teased or something that's about to launch. Yeah, what are you guys excited for on your own project?
That's a tough question.
I can take that. You know, I don't want to go into like, you know, so something that we lean very heavily into because we believe that, you know, like I mentioned before, there are new players in layer 2 and we don't want to pick winners. So, you know, we're excited to really welcome everyone. So I don't want to name specific projects that like, you know, that I sort of prefer or favor because that's, you know, not in the business. We're sort of platform. I want things that, you know, I want to give equal support to everyone on the application layer. But in terms of like, emerging industries and areas, I think gaming is one that I'm very, very excited about. And in particular, the class of things that I'm probably most excited about is the things that were priced out previously that are now enabled on Arbitrum. So use cases, and gaming's, you know, one of those that's emerging really, but like, or also retail DeFi, right? So low value trades where you can't trade at $5 if your fee's $10 or $15 or $100. So that's sort of the class of things that I'm most excited about. And, you know, it speaks really to what you said before, Eli, about creating new user experiences, enabling people to do new things. And that's sort of the, to me, the most exciting thing. Like, wow, this is not only awesome, but it's made possible by the work that we've done. And of course, the work that other teams have done to build on the work that we've done. And that to me is probably the most exciting class of projects right now. But of course, you know, we are very, very happy to support everyone. And this phenomenon exists, by the way, in new and old projects alike. It's new projects like springing up, like certain gaming projects, but it's also old projects. Like you could take your traditional, you know, your Ethereum DEX. And now that it's an Arbitrum out of the box, it just supports a new class of users that were previously priced out. So it's really, I think, pervasive to the ecosystem and really exciting.
Cool.
Okay. I'm just not sure if I understood the question correctly. I think the question was what we like the most. For example, what I like about Arbitrum, or what apps are excited.
What applications are exciting to you are on Polygon, for example? Like what applications are you messing around with on Polygon? But it can be like categorical as well, like right, like a category that you're really excited about.
Yeah, there's so many of them. As I said, we're excited that we managed to actually bootstrap this DeFi ecosystem. And now, as Steven said, we're finally seeing, we were a little bit concerned that that we committed a huge amount of funds, of our tokens, to bootstrap liquidity. And there was always this concern with us when once these incentives start to dry out, what will happen with TVL? What will happen with users? Will it actually stick? Did we actually manage to bootstrap the ecosystem, or it just kind of still artificial because of these incentives? And we're now very happy to see, okay, we lost some of the TVL, but we're now at some stable level when it comes to usage, TVL, applications. And that for us now obviously means that we have managed to bootstrap an ecosystem, which is the hardest thing basically when you start or launch a scaling solution. That's something I'm really excited about. The whole that group that is now a standalone, I would say, ecosystem with a huge number of users, with the negligible fees and all of that. That's great. I'm also excited about NFTs, but there's so many applications really now on Polygon, but I can say that, for example, about Arbitrum, maybe I can shift to Arbitrum and say that I also enjoy using Arbitrum. I tried some of the apps over there, and I think the user experience is great. And one thing that I was particularly impressed with is their bridge. They started with some initial version of the bridge that might not have been perfect. Of course, it's not perfect when you launch first version of anything. But what I was impressed with is how agile they were, how quickly they gathered feedback from the community, and they came up with a whole new version of bridge that looks better, works better. And I was just like, wow, like this all of that happened within, like, I don't know what, Steven, like 2-3 weeks, something like that. And it was quite impressive. And I guess that's that pluralism and the coexistence of multiple projects is just so very much positive sum game for Ethereum in the end. Because when I see how agile they are, then I become jealous, and then I also want us to be as agile. So we want to also improve and iterate like they do. But jokes aside, I think again, I'm using Aave also on Arbitrum. I was using it. I tried it quite a lot, and I think it's like basically we're moving forward the whole ecosystem, and we're obviously significantly improving user experience for end users, and that's what matters. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, I would love to echo that. I mean, like we are the project deploying also in Arbitrums, and at the very first beginning, it's so hard to use your bridge, and then it's very impressive that just within a very short time frame. I think everything looks very nice and it's easy to use, and then together with the very fast transaction experience, and I think that that's something that we're very impressed about. And great to see them that Rob program's been working so well. Yeah.
Thank you both of you. I appreciate the positive feedback, but yeah, definitely please keep both the positive and the negative feedback coming, because that's how we all get better.
Yeah, I think Stephen, you also got questions to ask. I mean, anyone that you loved?
Sure, I'll ask a general question that either or both of you can take. I think in my last when I spoke last, I mentioned I'm excited about these new emerging categories like gaming. And what's interesting is I think the three of us are all in a bit, somewhat different vantage points, whereas, but all in very like interesting vantage points where we get to see things before they go live, right? So, Eli sits and hears projects pitched to him, and those projects, so gets to see the trends before the trends actually happen. And similarly, we get to talk to projects before they launch, and Mihailo the same thing. So I'm wondering if there are other categories that you see emerging from your vantage point, or what you're what you think the next, obviously we can never know, but like, you asked me a year ago, I wouldn't have said that NFTs would be what they are today. had you asked me 2 years ago, I might not have realized that DeFi would be, would explode quite as quickly as it did. So curious if you have any thoughts or predictions of what the big up and coming, verticals are.
Yeah, I can try to tackle this one first. So there are a few areas that I'm particularly interested in, but I should preface it with with the fact that I typically like kind of weird things. So there's a lot of experimentation that I think that that we've seen with the NFT space so far, and I think that it can get a whole lot weirder with a little bit of like financialization. So like one idea that I've been toying around with is this idea that like you have a pool that belongs to the same collection, like anybody can deposit a punk, for example, right? And then you use something like Chainlink VRF to basically randomly select 2 of them, right? And then you play hot or not on like which NFT is hot, which one's not. And then you can do the weird thing of forcibly auctioning off the one that is not, right? So you run this like once every day, and you auction off the one that's like ugly or whatever, subjectively, right? And then the proceeds from the auction go to the remaining NFTs that are in the pool, right? And the idea here is that you're able to derive some kind of cash flow from an NFT just by depositing in it in this pool. And I think we'll see like this weird kind of bespoke financialization of NFTs or gaming via like play to earn that are really exciting to me. But I'm not exactly sure how it's going to play out, right? Like there's going to be like some weird, just some weirdness going on that I think is only really possible in an environment that is like transaction cost friendly, right? So there's a lot of exciting stuff that you can do just with like weird, almost like it feels like a game, or it feels like gambling, or something like that. That will be really fun to play around with. The only other thing that I can think of off the top of my head is in the area of application specific rollups. I think that there will be this interesting use case of like rehypothecating essentially what is locked in a bridge into layer 1 or a different layer 2 ecosystem or a different application specific rollup, right? So you can imagine there's an application specific rollup that's actually like kind of a DAO that inherits its security from Ethereum, but then you're rehypothecating the deposits somewhere else. And what this ultimately means is that depositors in that application specific rollup have even cheaper transaction costs, or maybe they're even making money in the end just from participating in this DAO. So there's weird stuff that I think can be achieved, that I'm pretty interested in. Yeah.
Yeah, and on my side, I think gaming is definitely something that is coming, and these in-game assets and in-game economies are going to be huge on blockchain and combined with NFTs, and that's something that is definitely happening in the background. So as Steven's question was, what is something that we might now see before it's even a thing? I think that's probably gaming. And we're focusing we have separate kind of a branch or a group within Polygon family that's called Polygon Studios that is largely focused on gaming and games that have some NFTs or in-game assets that live on blockchain at least. And that's something that is definitely, I mean, it's a digitally native already industry, and it's like a perfect fit for blockchain and NFTs as such. And there's a huge potential there, and the market is huge. Many people don't even know that, and that's something that I guess is coming right now. After we are now in terms of NFTs, we are seeing most of the attention with these PFP projects like punks and the apes and this digital art that we see on OpenSea, etc. But now and some brands that are already coming, but I think gaming will be very, very big.
Sure. Thanks for sharing. And as time's running out, thanks everyone for attending the sections. We've learned a lot from you, and we'll go back and then also study more. And as a protocol ourselves in SynFutures, and we've been so excited to see the development of Ether and the broader ecosystems. Yeah, look forward to work more with partners like yourself, and have a good day. And thanks again for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks a lot for your invite.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.